The superstardom that comes with NFL players can sometimes make people forget what the players have left behind. Sure, many NFL superstars have had great lives and a guided path to success. However, there are plenty of players in the NFL who have had some of the toughest lives imaginable and had to fight their way into the league. From extreme poverty to abuse to crime, these NFL players had to overcome their difficult childhoods in order to make it to the promised land. Before we start, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe below if you want to see more content like this. Josh Jacobs was drafted with the 24th pick by the Raiders last year. He was finally able to catch a break after years struggling and grinding just to make a better future for himself and his family. When Jacobs was in the 4th grade, his parents split up and he went to go live with his father. Jacobs' father struggled to secure an apartment for himself and his son, so they resorted to sleeping on relatives' couches and often in his father's car on the streets of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Jacobs' father even slept with a gun pinned against his own chest to make sure he could protect his son if anything were to go wrong. Eventually, Jacobs and his father were able to get an apartment, but then, along with gaining custody of his 3 brothers and sisters, Jacobs' father lost his job and subsequently the apartment. For the next 2 years, Jacob's siblings and father were living between motels and rarely getting a good meal. When things were very tight, the kids would get white rice or ramen noodles, and Jacob's father would go without eating. After years of living from motel to motel, Jacob's father was finally able to land a stable job and put his family in an apartment, although things were still incredibly tight. However, this perpetual struggle that Josh Jacobs and his family faced never deterred him and made him want to phone in. Eventually, Jacobs made enough of a name for himself in high school in order to get recruited to play at Alabama and eventually make the league. Overcoming all that he did, Jacobs was able to make enough money in his first year to finally buy his father a house. Tombah Ali faced great adversity to reach the United States, let alone professional football. Ali was born in war-torn Liberia, forced to face danger on a day-to-day basis as a child. The Civil War in Liberia began when Ali was 6, and by the time he was 9, the village he lived in became so dangerous that his family was forced to flee to the countryside where they were forced to forage for their own food. The country was in shambles, and Ali had to live through the nightmare of his own birthplace being plundered into war. Ali said that he often saw bodies piled up in heaps, and as a result, his family fled to the neighboring Ivory Coast. Ali's father escaped to America in 1985, and because of his chemistry and math degrees, was able to find a job as a professor, gained citizenship, and got his children over to the United States. Unfortunately, Ali's mother was not able to get citizenship and became stranded from Ali and the rest of the family. Ali was only able to maintain sporadic contact with his mother, who was surrounded by danger. It wasn't until 2004 that Ali found out his mother was back in Liberia, surrounded by conflict. As a result of her missionary work, Ali's mother was caught in the middle of gunfire and was shot below the knee. Finally, in 2006, Ali's mother made it to the United States, and his family was finally whole again. Decades after growing up in a war-torn country where Ali hadn't even heard of football, he began his impressive career with the Chiefs, providing for his family while making a name for himself. Jimmy Graham's childhood was never stationed in one place, moving from home to home and often submerged in abuse. Living with a single mother, struggling to make ends meet, Graham's mother was looking for a way to unload her child. Graham's mother often left him with relatives looking for a little bit of relief. Eventually, Graham's mother attempted a custody agreement between Graham and his ex-stepfather, but Graham's mother refused to even pay the $98 in monthly child support. Because of this, Graham's mom's solution was to drop off her son on the stairs of the social services building. While his mother had to take him back for a few more years, when Graham was 11, his mother made her final move to pawn her child off. On one infamous morning for Graham, his mother told him to get in the car for a ride. Unsuspecting to Graham, his mother pulled up to an orphanage and demanded her son get out. Only a child, Graham was separated from his sister and left alone to fend for himself. The unfortunate circumstances of Graham would only get worse inside the orphanage. He was surrounded by older, bigger, and violent children who quickly had it out for the younger Graham. One afternoon, he was left in a van with 5 older boys who beat Graham mercilessly, resulting in him being bedridden for 3 days with swollen shut eyes. When Graham called his mother begging to allow him home, she hung up on him, effectively letting him know that she would not be there for him. However, after 9 months of harsh abuse at the orphanage, Graham's mom relented and let her child back into the home. And while Graham may have looked forward to a little bit of relief, he simply could not catch a break. While back home, his mother's new boyfriend also sought after the vulnerable Graham and violently abused him as well. Graham attempted to seek refuge at a weekly prayer group that offered free food. There, Graham was finally awarded his first break when he met a woman who formed a maternal relationship with Graham, and after months of bonding with him and hearing his story, adopted Graham to be a part of her own family. Graham was finally given a chance, and with that chance, he was able to blossom, going into a promising prospect at Miami University and eventually getting drafted by the Saints. Graham became a star in the NFL, leaving behind the years of trouble and abuse he faced as a child and finally getting the life he wanted. Darnell Dockett grew up in a childhood pressured toward criminal activity. Dockett started his criminal history at only 11 years old, stealing and robbing throughout the neighborhood. Dockett learned this criminal behavior from his mother, who was selling drugs for most of his childhood. As his criminal behavior kept escalating, Dockett was bounced between several juvenile detention centers. At one point in all this chaos, Dockett was attempting to reach out to his mother but couldn't get a hold of her. So, Dockett and his siblings went to check up on his mother and witnessed something no child should ever have to see. His mother was lying lifeless in the middle of the floor after being murdered by an unknown assailant. To make things even more horrific for Dockett, months after his mother's murder, his father would die of cancer. Now, without parents, Dockett would move in with his uncle and begin to make strides to better his life. It was there where Dockett began to focus heavily on sports and gearing up for a professional career. Leaving the terrible things Dockett had to face as a teen behind, he would go on to spend a successful 11 years for the Arizona Cardinals. Dez Bryant certainly hasn't shied away from controversy, which may be in part caused by his turbulent childhood. With Bryant's relationship with his father being virtually non-existent and his mother selling drugs and often being at arm's length, Bryant was bouncing around between homes, at certain points living with his aunt, his girlfriend's family, and with friends. Bryant's relationship remained complicated with his mother. While they had love for each other, Bryant's mother had 3 children by the time she was 18 and was selling drugs to support them in any way she could. Aside from that, wherever Bryant was staying was typically scarce of food. Often settling for peanut butter sandwiches most days and surrounded by drugs and poverty, Dez had to put all he could into his talent. While Bryant's relationships and upbringing were incredibly turbulent, he was able to become a star in the league, unfortunately succumbing to his learned behavior. Sports were part of Adrien Peterson's life at a young age, but a troublesome childhood jeopardized Peterson's potential. As a child, Peterson witnessed his 9-year-old brother's death at the hands of a drunk driver. Losing his brother at such a young age played a large role on Peterson's childhood, forcing him to grow up quickly and learn the complicated circumstances of death early on. Along with that trauma, Peterson was regularly beaten by his parents and claims that it was just a part of how children in his circumstances grew up when he was a kid. In part to his poor surroundings, Peterson began misbehaving at a young age and smoking marijuana by middle school. Caught by the school security guard, Peterson was dragged off to juvenile detention and had to miss an entire year of school. As Peterson progressed in football and made the NFL, his father would be arrested for drugs and money laundering, leading to an even more distant relationship between the two, as his father wasn't able to be there to see his child become one of the best running backs of all time. Trauma and hardship during childhood can lead to individuals making great sacrifices and going through great lengths in order to dig themselves out of a ditch. Because of that, it's not uncommon for athletes to have been raised in tough circumstances or to have overcome tragic circumstances. So, many players in the NFL have come from different backgrounds, so it's impossible to name everybody. Let us know in the comments if we missed any compelling stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. But above all else, have a great day.